हेलो। हाँ मम्मी, क्या हुआ? व्हाट? घर में पूरा पानी आ गया? फ्लड्स हो गया पूरे सिटी में? ओ माय गॉड। व्हाट अबाउट आवर फर्नीचर, होम अप्लायंसेस एंड ऑल, आर दे सेफ और गॉन? एवरीथिंग इज गॉन? Oh, what can we do now? Oh, just hold on, mom. Actually, I just realized that I have got my emergency fund ready. So just relax and be steady. Hello, friends. So now you would have understood that emergency fund is very important for every earning person. Whether you are earning in your 20s or 30s or 40s does not matter. If you are an earning person, then the first thing which you should create is an emergency fund even before you start investing for your future plans, goals and ambitions. Okay, so the first thing is to create an emergency fund. So in this video, I'm going to talk about a little bit more in detail about the emergency fund. So what is an emergency fund, friends? Emergency fund, as the name suggests, is a fund which you have created in your life for meeting out certain emergencies which can come at any point of time in your life, and for that you must be ready with a fund so that you can face those emergencies properly. Okay, so for example, whether it's a flood situation or there is some damages or repairs in your house, or unfortunately you lose your job, or there are some medical expenses required at your side or in your family, so any emergency for that matter which can come unplanned, okay, and suddenly it can come. So meeting out for all those expenses for emergencies, you need to have a fund which is known as an emergency fund. Okay, so now that you have understood what is an emergency fund, okay, when should you create an emergency fund? When you're going to retire or after 10 to 15 years? No, emergency fund should be created right at the beginning once you start your career, friends. Okay, so you can leave your first month salary alone, because the first month salary you will want to spend and buy all those things which you want, but right from second month salary onwards you should start creating your emergency fund. Okay, so now once you have decided that you need to create an emergency fund, where will you create that fund and where you will park that amount of emergency fund? Okay friends, so the best place according to me to create an emergency fund is to invest in a recurring deposit or a fixed deposit in a bank. Okay friends, so in case of recurring deposit RD, you need to invest a small portion of your income into a recurring deposit in a bank automatically, like it is like a SIP of a mutual fund. So every month you need to invest in a recurring deposit in a bank, say for 1 year, and after 1 year the amount will mature, which will include the principal as well as the interest. And after that 1 year, the matured amount, you can invest that in a fixed deposit in the same bank, say again for a 1 year or 2 years. Okay, so the best place to keep an emergency fund according to me, friends, is a bank account in a recurring deposit or a fixed deposit account. Don't keep your emergency fund in a savings bank account, because in a savings bank account you might easily spend that money because there is no restriction on usage of that money. Okay, you without your knowledge itself you might spend that money in a savings bank account. But whereas in case of RD or FD, there are certain steps and procedures which you need to follow even if you want to break that investment. Hence, that will work as a deterrent to break that emergency fund. Okay, so that is the most important thing. And one word of caution which I want to tell you is that, friends, don't put your emergency fund in stock markets, mutual funds or gold, etc. Because the prices of all these things, share market, mutual funds, golds, keeps on changing every day. Day to day the price keeps changing. Hence, because of this, there is a possibility that your principal amount may get eroded or come down in case of changes in prices. Say for example, you invested your emergency fund in a mutual fund. Okay, emergency money you kept in a mutual fund, and the prices kept on increasing for 8 months, 10 months, 1 year, somewhere like that. And right when maybe after 1 year you needed the money, there is some bad news in the market, or there is some black swan event which has happened in the economy or in the market, something like COVID or some bad news, because of which there is a stock market crash or the prices have fallen. So what will happen in such situations? Your principal value, there are chances that it may get eroded. Assuming you had invested 1 lakh, it became 1,20,000, but because of some bad news, the value might come to 90,000. So this is the one thing which you don't want to have in case of an emergency fund. Okay, because the purpose of emergency fund, friends, is not to grow your money at 10%, 12% rate of return per annum. No, the main important purpose of emergency fund is to ensure that your principal is safe and secure. Okay, your principal value should never get compromised. So that is and hence the best place for that is a bank RD or an FD, because the risk is as good as zero. And whatever interest you earn over and above that is an extra money or a bonus which you get on an emergency fund. Also friends, a lot of people and some other YouTubers, or generally a lot of people also say that you can park your emergency fund in a liquid mutual fund, because liquid mutual funds kind of gives you higher rate of return than fixed deposits, and but actually it is little bit more risky than fixed deposit, but it is less risky than a normal mutual fund because they invest in debt securities of companies. But let me tell you friends, I will show you the data and then you can decide. Right now you can see that this is the Money Control website. I am showing you the list of liquid mutual funds, and you can see the rate of return for 1 year is somewhere around 3.5% for all liquid mutual funds, right? And what is the interest rate which you get in a fixed deposit in a bank? Any bank for that matter right now will give you 5 to 5.5% rate of return in a fixed deposit. And there are some banks like Jana Small Finance Bank which is giving 6.5% FD interest rate for 1 year, which is more than 1 year of this liquid mutual fund which is giving just 3.5%. Also friends, if you have to invest in liquid mutual fund, again you'll have to do a lot of झंझट. उसमें फिर देखना पड़ेगा कि there are so many liquid mutual funds, which one to invest. You have to go and see the allocation in that mutual fund, what are the allocation done by the fund manager in that particular mutual fund, and ensure that it is not invested in risky companies and risky companies debt securities. So all that thing, all this झंझट, I don't think you should do in case of an emergency fund. You should have a simple investment strategy, which is a bank, especially for an emergency fund. So the best place to keep your emergency fund would be a recurring deposit or a fixed deposit with a bank. Okay, now that friends, you have understood a lot of details and the concept about emergency fund, now comes the most important question. How much of money should you create in an emergency fund? Okay, this actually depends upon your lifestyle, income, how much you spend and earn, etc. Right? Hence, you should not create an emergency fund which is very, very small, because then it will be insufficient in case of any emergencies. Also, on the other hand, you should not create a very high emergency fund, because then you are parking a lot of excess money in a fund which is not giving you good rate of returns. You are not growing your money. Hence, it should be optimum level. Now, generally, according to me, I would say the emergency fund must be around 2 to 3 months of your salary. Okay, so let's say if you are earning 50,000 rupees per month, then your emergency fund should be minimum or at least 1 lakh to 1,50,000 rupees, okay, as your emergency fund. Because let's assume, say worst case scenario, you lose your job, okay, unfortunately, then you might take 2 to 3 months, to get a new job, and in that time you should have a fund which should give you the same amount as your monthly income to manage your daily and day-to-day life and other expenses. Hence, I would say the worst case scenario would be losing a job. In that case, you need to have 2 to 3 months of your salary as an emergency fund. On the other hand, if there are any other emergencies, for example, there's some repairs in the house, sudden repairs, there's some short circuit in the house, or medical emergencies, or some flood situation like which I told you, because of which a lot of damage has happened. In that case also, you can use 1 to 1.5 lakhs immediately and use this for immediate recovery or repairs of your houses or medical emergencies. But understand that you're still having a job. So in another maybe 10 days time, 20 days, or at the max another 30 days, you'll get your salary again, that which you can again utilize it for your emergency purposes. So this emergency fund will work out for the immediate time until you get your salary. After that, you can get your salary and again utilize it for emergency. Or at the worst case scenario, you can even go and ask a salary advance to your employer. Hence, this is the reason, friends, you should not have a very high emergency fund. It should be sufficient enough, little bit more than sufficient, to ensure you can meet your emergencies properly. Hence, don't create 12 months of a salary as an emergency fund, because it is not going to be of much use. Okay, friends. Also, the most important thing, friends, why you should have this emergency fund is, because in case of these emergencies, you should not break your investments which you have created for your long-term goals or plans, or things such as your dream house, or children's marriage or education. All those things, you should not break your investments for such emergencies. That should always be protected. Hence, you should have a separate emergency fund for all these kind of emergencies. Okay. And also, one thing which I would want to tell you is that this emergency fund, the exact amount will vary from person to person. Okay. For example, if you are a bachelor, okay, and your parents are also earning and you are living with your parents, then I would say 2 months of your salary is more than enough. 1 lakh rupees of emergency fund is more than enough. But if you're a bachelor living separately from your parents in a different city, then I would say 2.5 to 3 months of salary you need to have. 1,50,000 rupees you need to have an emergency fund. Or on the other hand, if you're married and living separately from your parents in a different city, then in such cases you need to have at least 4 months of your salary. 50,000 into 4, 2 lakh rupees as your emergency fund. Okay. So exact amount will depend upon the person to person based on the situation, circumstances and your environment. But at least you should have a 2 to 3 months of your salary as your emergency fund, friends. Okay. So I hope now you would have got an idea about what is an emergency fund, how much of emergency fund you should create, where to create and how much to invest and all those things. So, and I hope you, after watching these videos, you go and start creating your emergency fund right away if you haven't created till now. So I hope you all like this video. Thanks for watching. I will see you all in the next video. Until then, this is Karthik signing off. Thank you and namaste.